Okay, so here you're saying two things that I believe I share those views, and I think they're very consequential. The first is that you're saying that it's quite odd that the long count begins on a date that is for a how, and by consequence it ends on a date that is for a how. It would have been more natural to have it start on 1 imish and end on 13 a how. The second thing that you're saying is that based on your knowledge of how the Maya followed time, it seems much more likely that this long count, it was actually set based on the solar zenith in the location Itzapa, and meaning that it just happens to end on December 21, 2012.
Right. Except that if it did begin precisely on the solar zenith passage in Itzapa, then that calendar ends on December 23rd, 2012. If the GMT, the original GMT is correct, then it actually begins 2 days before the zenith passage.
Generally speaking, you might say that the academic community of Mayanists have been fairly skeptical to the whole 2012 phenomena, the way it has been popularized. Now, still, it remains clear that certainly the beginning of the 13 Baktun cycle was considered as important by the Maya, and that they thought the end of it was enough important to make at least one inscription in Tortuguero.
That's right.
So then I'd just like to ask you your personal view here. Do you have any sense that there could be some kind of a reality to this calendar system, that it's not just a way of marking time, but that there could be some meaning to the creation and the return of Bolon Yokte? What's your personal feeling here?
Since I really am just a scholar of the Maya, that is to say, I'm trying to look at what the Maya themselves say, I have to say that what they believe doesn't necessarily apply outside their own worldview. It's entirely possible. Let me say it's not just possible. It is certain that every culture has special insights that other cultures could benefit from. Every culture has something valuable to give, and that's why this homogenization of the world, and this trying to erase and try to make everybody read the same magazines and watch the same movies, and this like I said, this homogenization is a crime, because every one of especially the indigenous cultures, which have this much more close to the earth wisdom, they have so much to offer us in their view of the world. That being said, I look at the wisdom of other cultures and their worldview as a kind of what shall I say? I view them all with equal skepticism and all with equal respect. I don't see any evidence that the Maya thought 130000 coming up was to be considered the same as the old one. Indeed, they had this clock that reached 13 and started over again back in 3114 BC. But it seems that everywhere where I can find evidence of what they thought would happen the next time, they thought that it would go on to 14, 15, 16, but that interruption between 13 and whatever it was a unique event in their creation. That's what it seems like, at least in Palenque and in Tikal. As for the others, I don't know enough to know what they actually believed, and like I said, I like to learn what I can from every culture. The American Indians gave us the ecology movement, if you will. A much better view of how to interact with your earth than the European, cut down the forests and plow the ground metaphor, or should I say worldview. But I'm sorry to say that I really can't answer your question either way.
What in the field of academic Mayanism, could you say something that you think is very hot and exciting at this particular point in time?
The most important thing that's happened, I think, in the last 10 years has been the discovery that the prehistoric, what we call the pre-classic period of the Maya, that they were literate as early as 300 BC, and that's 600 years earlier than the earliest stone inscriptions, for instance. There's a painted inscription deep in the bowels of San Bartolo that is dated probably to 300 BC, and it seems to be real writing. It's not sort of fake. And then there was a discovery in San Bartolo. They found very, very sophisticated paintings and illustrations of their creation myth and their coronations, and those are still being compiled, extraordinarily well preserved, considering the fact that they're very, very early. They're 100 BC, which is, hundreds of years earlier than the other stuff we have about portraying Maya ceremonies. And even farther back, there's been a stone found called the Cascajal block, which seems to be dated to between 600 and 900 BC, probably more close to 900 BC, with what looks like real writing on it, which means that there was writing being done by the Olmec. Unfortunately, we can't decipher it because we don't have enough, examples, and we need to find more. But it seems to be authentic, and it seems to be, authentically dated. And there was a conference in Los Angeles this weekend in which 4 different sort of interpretations were given about the Cascajal block, and the scholars are very, very excited by the fact that it's almost certainly real. There's too many reasons not to make it the way they made it if they were faking it, and that there's so much more to discover. There's this missing link between 900 BC and 300 BC, and between 300 BC and 300 AD.
Wow,
that's to me the exciting stuff.
Great, yeah. Well, it's been very exciting to have the chance to interview you. And again, I just want to say your book here, 2012, Science and Prophecy of the Ancient Maya, that it does fill a gap. In other words, a total compilation about what the Maya might have thought about the upcoming year 2012, and also providing background in the creation date that the Maya would hold in 3114. And so in this, I think it has a unique knowledge that I certainly recommend to anybody who is interested in this phenomenon. So thank you very much. Thank you so much for being in this interview.
My pleasure. Take care.
You too.